So good evening, everyone. We're just waiting for a couple of minutes for more participants to join in, and then we begin.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Sharif, can we start now, or do we need to wait more?
Yes, ma'am.
So good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our day 3 for the FDP on navigating SDGs. So today's topic is about gender equality, and let me So everyone, maybe can I see all of you for a couple of seconds? It helps if we all can see each other for a couple of seconds before we formally begin the session. Hi, Bipindra. You back for this?
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing?
All good, all good.
I've been here for the last, this is my
Yeah,
third day.
I was wondering if it's you. So
Yeah,
good to
it is me.
see. So nice meeting you, everyone. So have a wonderful evening. And we have a great speaker coming in next. And the first session will be taken by me, where we would be interacting about SDG 5 and the issue of gender equality, and how we as faculty, administrators, and learning professionals contribute to this SDG. Now, before I formally talk about the subject matter, can somebody share their own personal experiences with SDG 5 in India, their own institution? Anyone? Any of the participant? If you would like to unmute and tell us if you've done any work in this space and how your institution is progressing in this area. Anyone? So let me begin by saying that we at NDIM are very proud to share that the top leadership positions are handled by 75% women at NDIM. So that's the first thing that we do. We are a zero tolerance organization for any kind of gender-based biases and discrimination, and making sure that the education, the contributions that all of us make are definitely gender sensitive, and we take care of each other. So that's something that we do at NDIM. And maybe if anyone wants to share their case study before we talk about this, any institution or any faculty, anyone who wishes to share their journey on gender equality, gender justice, if you have come across something, would love to hear. Okay, I see Satyamurthy saying that we as an institution are moving towards one of the, okay, goal of quality education through research. Wonderful. Anyone else wants to share their journey? Okay, so let me begin the session. And if one of you could confirm that you see my screen. Yes?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, great. So everyone, today's session is about gender equality, and I'm sure all of you have done your bit in this space, but it always helps that if we all can revisit some of these expectations and ensure that in our teaching, in our administrative actions, in our dealings with the students and participants of our higher educational setup, if we could ensure that there is gender equality and gender justice. And this is my background, where if you see that I've done some work in the area of gender justice, I'm a POSH certified trainer as well, and I work with Government of India organization as well as private organizations and consult them on various gender related issues. And that's how I'm able to talk about this issue with all of you. Now, when we talk about SDG 5, and all of us call it as, issue of gender equality. And most of us, have been lucky to be brought up in a situation or in a family where we have been treated equally in terms of genders. But when we talk about global numbers, when you talk about the story of India in terms of the global perspective, we have a long way to go. And the basic focus area of SDG 5 is to promote gender equality and have mechanisms, have policies and practices in place so that we achieve gender equality in all spaces. When I say all spaces, I'm talking about education at the primary level, at the middle school level, at the higher education level, and even at the PG and the doctoral level. And in return, we are looking at empowerment of all women and girls. And the reason for that is, women in India haven't had it easy. And it's not only the story of India, but when you talk about global numbers, the story is the same all across the world. So we have a long way to go, and SDG 5 and the most recent statistics reported by Niti Aayog also portrayed not a very positive story for our country. And each one of us must do our bit to sensitize people about need for gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. Normally, when I have my sessions with corporates and educators, we always begin with the question that when we're talking about equality at workplace, it's already there. There are organizations which are talking about equal employment opportunities, and they have policies in place which promote women empowerment. Then why do we perform so dismally poor in SDG 5 at the global scale? And the reason for that is that we haven't had many women participants in the mainstream employment, in the mainstream decision making of the country. We're getting there, we are hoping to get there, but right now, 2030 agenda, especially for SDG 5 in India, seems a distant dream. Okay? And how do we ensure that these SDG 5 gets implemented across the globe and especially in our country? So there are nine basic targets that have been set for accomplishment of SDG 5, which is gender equality. And the first and foremost being the pledge to end all forms of discrimination against women and girls. And India has done well. We have talked about this. We have a law which takes care of discrimination against women and girls, and especially gender violence, which was a prevalent story in our country. We wish to do away with that, shady history to speak of. That is the first target that we aspire to accomplish. The next target, especially for SDG 5, is target 5.2, which talks about ending all violence and exploitation against women and girls. Here again, we have a policy in place, we have a law in place, but the social numbers speak something else. And if you look at the NCRB data, it suggests that there are more number of violence cases reported against women and girls in India than it is done for the other genders. And there is a long way to go. We need to sensitize people that it is not okay to treat any gender in such a manner. And there is definitely need for ending all kinds of violence. The third target that the SDG 5 aims for is target 5.3, which is about eliminating forced marriages and genital mutilation. And forced marriage is a challenge, definitely in a society. We've had so many cases, so many numbers which get reported by various states, but the society is hoping to, have some say in this matter, that women, girls have a choice if they wish to enter in this kind of an institution or not. And we have a system in a society where we are a family unit, and as a family, whatever we decide, we go ahead and do it. So, but there has to be an element of choice. There has to be an element of consent. And that is what all these schemes, all the policies of the government is promoting. But there is definitely need for doing work at the grassroots level, be it in the rural areas or in the urban space. And target 4 is about the contribution that women make to the domestic responsibilities. And there is need for promoting more shared domestic responsibilities amongst all genders. And traditionally, again, we are so used to seeing our moms doing all the household work and yet not giving that acknowledgement. And we'll get there hopefully soon, because we have a lot of young men, women, and the third gender who are looking at an equal society and are fighting for gender rights, and definitely treating domestic responsibilities as an economic activity. Target 5.5 is about ensuring full participation of women in leadership and decision making. Here again, there are pockets which are doing well, but we again have a lot of journey to come. When we talk about women leadership, we begin at the top. You talk about the government, you talk about the parliament, you talk about the lawmakers. How many women find their representation at the helm of affairs in our country? And do they have decision-making powers in the policies that get made at the state level, at the national level, and the local level? So we are getting there. Hopefully soon, we should be able to talk about equal participation at the national level in terms of country leadership, in terms of organizational leadership, as well as decision-making at the institutional levels. The SDG 5 would definitely benefit if we work towards target 5.6, which is having universal access to reproductive health and rights. And the numbers here are not very positive. There are a lot of schemes of Government of India which are talking about reproductive health and rights, but there is need for covering a lot of ground. And most of the information gets lost because of the lack of communication channels and lack of on-ground volunteers, and having a great system in place so that everyone has access to this health. But we are doing much better in target 5.6 as a country because of various schemes, because of the national health setup that we have. But like I said, we need to start young. We need to talk about these issues in schools and higher educational institutions, and make sure that there are institutions in the health framework which provide the right support to deal with such health concerns and reproductive rights for women and girls in India. Then we have other 3 targets which we are aspiring for as a country and at the global level is SDG 5, which is target 5.8, which talks about equal rights to economic resources, property ownership, and financial services. Some of us accept these things as part of life. We assume that, since we come from backgrounds which are educated, then there is definitely going to be parity between economic resources or access to economic resources, and there won't be concerns of ownership of assets in our society and access to financial services. But there is need for promoting education in this case. There is need for creating opportunities for economic contribution by women and girls in this space. And we require a lot of educational initiatives which can help support the economic imperative of our country for this particular target. Then we have to talk about definitely technology, because that is the future and the present. All of us are living, eating, breathing technology. But how do we ensure that there are more women who have access to technology as well as are making contribution to the field of technology? So what kind of enrollments do we have, especially from women in the STEM courses? What schemes are there for at the government level, at the institutional level, which promote more access for women so that they can have access to these roles which come up in the technology space? Do we have the right technology infrastructure where women can come in and contribute and acquire the right skill sets, especially with reference to technology? And then comes the ninth target, which is target 5.C, which talks about having an adoption of policies and strengthening policies and having legislations which promote gender equality. So we are, a country which is definitely following global protocols here. We have ratified UN Convention of CEDAW, which talks about, Convention against elimination of against discrimination against women in all channels. But the numbers, like I said, is dismal. We have a long way to go, and each one of you who's attending this session today, it's important that we talk about gender issues. We assume that certain things are equal, but in the real sense of the word, it is not equal at all, especially when it comes to women. The next issue that I want to highlight is by sharing this video, which is a summary of what is gender equality, especially with reference to SDG 5. And then probably I'll call out one or two participants to share their thoughts on this video. So I'm sure everyone, you got some basic insights on SDG 5 and how each one of us can contribute to gender equality. Let me hear one or two thoughts from participants in terms of what do you feel is the state of gender equality in India. Maybe if I can have some volunteers, I would really appreciate. Otherwise, I can call out names and request you to please share your thoughts. Who would like to share your thoughts on gender equality in India? Anyone who would like to share your thoughts?
Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
As far as gender equality is concerned, I think gender equality is equal here, madam, because I am taking the context of our college, madam.
Mm-hmm.
Our department has some 5 to 6 staffs who belong to the female gender.
Okay.
We both are paid equally, workload is given equally. We are also given certain works, they are also given certain works. There is no deviation or any equality. Both of them have equal opportunity.
Okay. Wonderful. Dr. Prabhu, I think you're representing Pondicherry. Yeah.
Yes, madam. Puducherry UT, madam.
Puducherry, you're representing. Wonderful. Good to hear that. Someone else would like to share your thoughts on gender equality from your state or your institution perspective? Dr. Preetha, would you like to?
Good evening, Dr. Tina. This is Dr. Preetha from Vistas from Chennai, Tamil Nadu. When we want to talk about gender equality, what I feel is we should take a bigger lens rather than looking at it from the standpoint of an university or an institution per se, and we should look at it with a bigger lens in terms of the overall well-being or the standard of living or whatever measures or metrics we have to assess equality per se. So in that context, we still hear stories of women being deprived of even the basic things like education or a right to higher education particularly, and right to decide their marital age, right to and denial of very basic financial independence. So such things, what to say, a deep understanding of region wise, sectoral wise assessment has to be done, and surely it will the outcome will be there are some gray areas and there are some rural pockets where we have a long way to go, and it needs to be addressed. That is what I feel.
Wonderful, Dr. Preetha. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. You're right. You're right in stating that we need a bigger lens when we talk about gender equality. There are larger issues we must address. And how do we address it? All rests on each one of us. So we need to identify our areas of influence, our zones of influence, and then see how we can make our individual contributions. As a nation, we are working towards it, but we are performing dismally. And we cannot succeed until unless each one of us do our bit. And thank you for sharing your insights, Dr. Preetha. And I'm seeing some observations in the chat as well. I think Rohit is stating that we do need some restructuring in the indicators and the data points. Okay. Rohit, would you want to elaborate to everyone? What would be your take on this? What suggestion do you have? Please, if you could unmute and share. So Rohit feels that we need to restructure and normalize the difference between the rural and urban populace. Okay. And I'm seeing that Satyamurthy is saying that as an HR guy, most Indian companies have gender equality, but in top management role. Okay. Any other thoughts? Anyone else wants to share their own personal experiences and their work? Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. I want to share something. Hello, ma'am. How are you, first of all?
Hi.
I'm Dr. Yeah. How are you?
All good, Umra. Go ahead.
So, firstly, I want to share my experience that my first interview was self-NDIM, New Delhi City Management, and I can proudly say that that platform gave me a boost, right? So, yeah, and I can never, forget that thing. Yeah, the platform that you provide, that the channels that provide me. So, because of that, I'm here. Recently, I am working in UPS as an assistant professor, senior stage. So I'm at this initial stage, just defending my thesis. I got that opportunity just because of I got that opportunity before joining your interview, that NDIM. And I can proudly say that I was a part of this NDIM, where the 70% of colleagues or the members, the employees are female. So that is something I think huge. Like okay, and all the faculty members, all the females are like cooperative. They are supporting each other. I've seen it. I've I've experienced it in actual thing. So, and talking about my experience in UPS, so I would say the UPS is also a very good institute and it is taking initiative. There is a gender inclusivity, there is some policy reforms, there really on a regular basis we see that some workshop is are going like for example how to defend yourself, these things, and also we have a POSH, that is the that stands for prevention of sexual harassment. So we have that POSH policy. So UPS also has established that. So on a regular basis, we attend that and we are like there's some resource person, the UPS advice, and we got to know what are our rights. We got to know, okay, what
Right.
from ground we can raise our voice. So these are the things that
Sure.
I've experienced. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Umra, for sharing your personal experience. So basically, what we are getting at is, as organizations, we need to create awareness. And here, I would want to request Dr. Ishraf, you've shared a very wonderful thought. If you want to share with everyone, unmute yourself and talk about it, because that's where it starts from. It starts very early in life. If you would want to unmute yourself and talk about it.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Ishrat Rasool, working as Faculty of Management Studies Assistant Professor. So my idea about the gender equality is that we should nurture and start initiating this concept at a very early stage at our homes. Like if we have a daughter and a son, like it's a basic example. If I have to buy the toys, so I'll choose gun for my son and I'll choose crockery set for my daughter. So this is where we initiate the gender inequality. So if we talk about gender equality, like one of the sir said from the Pondicherry, I heard that he was saying that workload is divided. Yes, at workplace, workload is divided, and we are regularized. Like salaries are divided according to the level you are working. But at the same point, if we see at a work end and at a personal end, once I am home and my husband is home, he's just sitting and watching TV or his cartoons with the kids, playing with the kids. But I am the person who has to take care of the responsibility, feed the kids, do the homework of the kids, help them in doing their assignments, and I'm responsible person for that. So at our home place, there is no gender equality. So it should be basically started from there. Then we can use it in our organization. So whatever has been done till now, I don't feel that कि ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए था, ऐसा होना चाहिए था. My point is not that. My point is
Sure.
now the children are watching us, what we are doing.
Right.
खाना खाना है तो किसको बुलाना है? मम्मा बुलाएगी. मम्मा भले ही ऑफिस से आई हो, लेकिन पापा भी आए तो पापा को रेस्ट करना, पापा थक गए. At the same time, mama is a human being too. So what you
Wonderful,
have to
Dr.
do,
Ishraf.
you have to
Thank
start it from the very beginning.
Yeah. So we need to start young, everyone. It is about various gender expectations that we have in our society. So there's something known as socially constructed roles that each one of us play. And barring the biological difference that various genders have, but if we are able to understand the difference in the social roles that we play and ensure that there is equality in the social roles and expectations. So statements such as, girls have to be soft-spoken, statements such as pink color is for girls, boys don't cry, be a man, be strong, do not show your emotions. These are all gendered statements which are promoting inequality already at a very young age in the minds of youngsters. And that is why, the statistics, the numbers speak very poorly. When we talk about national numbers in India, in terms of schemes, in terms of educational initiatives, we seem to be doing better. But when it comes to social roles, when it comes to societal expectations, when it comes to equality at all spaces of work and home, there is a lot that more needs to be done. So that's why I thought, let me hear some comments from the participants and take it forward. And what I'm trying to get at is that it's not only in India that things are not looking great. Here I'm sharing UN SDG reports of 2023. And according to this report, we are still not on track for achieving gender equality in 2030. And that is in terms of the global figures. So, I think there was a comparison of over 160 plus countries. And the analysis of their initiative states that only 15.4% global schemes, especially which are focused at the national level, are on track. There are schemes, but the progress isn't much. And lot of schemes have been initiated, but the implementation is a challenge. So that's not the story only in India, but there are other countries as well. And if things were to go in the same manner across 160 plus countries, then it would take about 300 years, more than 4 lifetimes for many of us to end the concept of child marriage. And that is where the concept of gender inequality is evident in all spaces. It would take more than 280 years to close the gaps in the legal protection, and there are laws which have certain inherent bias. So those potential biases also have to be dealt with, because traditionally, it was gendered laws, and India is making progress. We are looking at that, but again, lot more work needs to be done. And we would take about 140 years to find equal representation in leadership positions at workplace, at senior positions, and even at national level. And when we talk about equality, everybody says that be it men, women, and there is a third gender recognition in India, they all have equal opportunity to apply for the same jobs. But we need to also look at the background, look at the historical evolution. How long have they been part of the mainstream workforce? How long have they been contributing to the growth story of the country that they are part of? And how easy it was for them to get into the mainstream workforce. So when we are able to answer these aspects of equity, which means providing resources as per the journey of each gender, then only we will talk about an equitable and an equality-based framework for any country. So if you look at the statistics, there are 30.9% countries which have applied quotas for women leadership in parliament. And there is a lot more that needs to be done, because if you have women representation in the parliament, then the national schemes have a gendered perspective. They understand where these issues are coming from, and gender equality is not only about the implementation of POSH Act. There are many aspects which make up gender equality, especially from the SDG 5 perspective. I talked about 9 target areas. There are potential more indicators that we must look at. And there is issue of decision making, especially do we have, people say that there is freedom of decision making, but are we talking about those glass ceilings? Are we talking about those, hidden boundaries that are brought forward by the social and cultural norms and expectations because of the roles that we play, that requires further discussion. And when we talk about choice of getting into the institution of marriage globally, it says that there is a 1 in 5 young women are already married even before they reach the age of 18. When we talk about 18, you're really young. You don't know what are the social expectations. You don't know what are the expectations in terms of those roles that you're going to play. That actually, sometimes plays a hindrance to the contribution to the economic imperatives of the country that you're part of. Now that we've talked about the global agenda is very promising, but the figures reflect something else. And here I'm showcasing where we stand as a country, especially for SDG 5. And this is the latest report by Niti Aayog. And according to this report, our national average for SDG 5 is 49 out of 100, which means we are not even talking about the equal, split half, but there's a long way to go. And, as many as 13 states and 1 union territory are below the national average. That means they are not even at 49, position score. And the poor performing states and areas are Odisha, you're seeing on screen, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Assam, UP, Jharkhand, Bihar, Manipur, West Bengal, etc. And the top 5 scorers, especially in terms of SDG 5 indices, is Nagaland, which stands at 74, which is way above our national average. Mizoram is at 69, Kerala is at 66, and Lakshadweep is at 65, Sikkim is at 65, I think Delhi is at around 60. So there's a lot more that needs to be done. And it has to move beyond the process of schemes. We have to look at implementation. We have to look at grassroots participation. We have to talk about social expectations. We have to talk about changes in education. We have to talk about changes and updations in the laws. We have to talk about anti-discriminatory practices which exist in the corporate India, in the government sectors, and also in the social space as well. Now, here I have a question. I normally ask this for my workshops in gender justice. All of you, please type in your responses to this question. I'm sure all of you know this answer. So this study is done by World Economic Forum each year. And they carry out a study to find out gender parity in global gender gap report. Okay. So there are, I think, about 146 countries which participate in this study. Where do you think India ranks? Please, if you could. Yes, Dr. Priyanka, you want to say something? Okay, sorry for the disturbance, everyone. Let me see your responses in the chat. Let's say the 146 countries participated in this study by World Economic Forum. And where do you think, pick a number out of 1 to 146 where India would rank, according to you, in terms of gender parity. So I see Preeta saying that we are at 70. Okay. What about others? Please type in your response. Pick a number from 1 to 146. Based on your experiences, do tell me, where do you think we rank as a country? Okay, I'm seeing some responses, 100 onwards. Okay, Anshul. Others, what do you think? Where we rank? So we are at 129 out of the 126 countries, that participate in the World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap Reports. Now, what does this mean for us? Why do we need to talk about gender gap with reference to SDG 5? Because SDG 5 talks about gender equality. And there are various aspects. Yes, Dr. Dipanka, we are at 129. And last year we were at 127. So which means we thought things were getting better, but the indicators speak something else. And there are, according to this study, there are 4 major parameters that, for any country to work on, especially with reference to gender parity. And the 4 parameters for this study are economic participation and opportunity. That means, do we have enough opportunities being created at the national level and at the organizational level for various genders to come forward and participate in the mainstream workforce. That means, do we have right to work? Do we have work opportunities for various genders to contribute? And sorry, the second aspect of gender parity is educational attainment. We are doing better here. There are a lot of schemes of Government of India which are talking about improving gender gross enrollment ratio in all levels of education in India, but we still have a lot of scope of improvement. And access to health and survival. Here again, we have various schemes, but the penetration of these schemes have to be checked, and the effectiveness and awareness needs to be created among citizens. And the fourth aspect, which decides about the gender parity, is the political empowerment. I've stressed enough on it that who are the lawmakers? Who are those decision makers at the top level? If you have various gender acceptance in a country, do they find representation with reference to political empowerment? And also see what is their legacy? What kind of tenure do they have? Do they have history to participate in these aspects of the country's growth, etc.? And then determine that do we have the right balance of schemes? Do we have right awareness level that is required? What kind of support systems and resource allocations we need to create at the country level, at the local level, and at the institutional level, so that this gap, which seems to be increasing and widening, becomes less. And we are just above countries which do not have any kind of rights. You talk about Afghanistan, you talk about Pakistan, you talk about some African nations like Chad, etc. And the top 7, 8 countries are specifically from the Scandinavian belt, where we talk about happiness and equality in the real sense of the word. And there is a lot more that needs to be done. And to bring forward some more statistics and data points for all of you to think about and ponder about, the issue of gender equality or inequality rests on 4 pillars. And it is about, what is the access to education? What kind of influence do they have with reference to decision making and lawmaking and the legal and political representation? What is the state of gender-based sexual violence, and what is the opportunities for work that gets created? So there are some data points for all of you to look at and ponder about. And you can definitely look at that, since education is something that all of us hold very dearly. And there are a lot of initiatives which support the educational initiatives and imperatives. But still, there is a gap which exists with reference to literacy rate in India. And we can do much better in terms of these numbers. In terms of creating opportunities for work, we normally dabble between 35 to 40% of female labor force participation, but this is not across all, spheres. So we have to look at an India which talks about true equal representation at work, and we have to make sure that it's not only within our own institution, and how do we create more awareness of rights. And in terms of the global numbers, and it is a very poor and a sad state of affairs, and one of the targets is about safety of women. And 1 in 3 women worldwide have been subjected to physical or sexual violence by their known circle or even beyond their known circle of influence. So a lot more needs to be done about creating awareness about safety concerns, having policies, resources, and safeguards in place to take care of this. Because this is, if they don't feel safe, naturally their access to work gets reduced, their contribution to work gets reduced, and the societal comments such as please do not go out alone at night. Take your brother out with you when you're going alone. These are some of the statements that young girls in India are still growing up with. I mean, our times we were taught not to go out after 5 p.m. It's not safe. Same thing, even mothers and fathers these days are telling their young girls not to go out. It's not safe for any gender, but more stress is made, especially for women gender. And how do we bring about that change? That can only happen when we increase the power of influence of various genders. And again, the global figures of women being at the decision-making authority, at the law-making authority, is at about 27%, which is 26.9% to be precise. And in India, there are almost 14.7% parliamentarians who are women, and there is definitely requirement, need for all of us to think that are we really doing our bit? And as a country, yes, it's happening, it's slow and it's gradual, but let us not forget that all SDGs are somehow interconnected. If we don't do well in the most important SDG, where we talk about 50% of your population being in this space, then we really need to rethink our numbers. And if you are seeing the current statistic, which I just put up, so globally, femicide is a big problem, and every 10 minutes, a woman loses her life to violence. So when we talk about equality, when we talk about having a country or a workspace which is safer, these numbers have to go down. These reflect very poorly of a global family, so to speak of, and our country as well. And each one of us can do a bit here by creating more awareness, by making sure that at least in our zone of influence, can we sensitize our students, can we sensitize the people in our family about these issues and numbers, so that we are correcting the balance, and our country does better. So now let me talk about what are the future possibilities that we can look at as a country and as faculty, as administrators, etc., in the higher education space. So let me showcase some more pointers and what to actually look at 2030 national agenda. We need laws which promote gender equality. We talk about, we are a country, we have POSH Act in place, which is, Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition, and Redressal Act of 2013. And before this, we did not have a Sexual Harassment Act, but we had Vishaka guidelines. But we need more. If we are talking about equality in terms of hiring, we do have Equal Remuneration Act. But then again, are we really talking about in spirit and in principle and in action implementation of all these laws? And if required, can something more be done about it? And that can only happen when you have champions who are talking about these gender issues, etc., at the national level, at the global level, and at the institutional levels and local levels. We need more resource allocation for gender responsive programs. We need to sensitize people. We need various schemes, initiatives, which aims at tipping the balance and making sure that we really achieve that balance. And simply allocating resources is not sufficient. We need to have right schemes and implementations and measurement metrics, so that we actually keep on revisiting our numbers and keep on checking if we are making the right aspects in place. And ensuring that there is definitely meaningful participation, not just for the sake of it, not simply forming committees, etc., but also ensuring that let's hit where it matters. Let's have women in the position of power so that they are able to bring that gendered perspective at the national agenda level. So these are some of the research outcomes which are suggested by various bodies. And since we are talking about equal partners in success, and everything is not only the national responsibility and the government's responsibility at the national or the state level, but each one of us as participants of business, as industry contributors, as users of human resources, as contributors to the growth story of a country, what we can do as business. So organizations are working towards this, but there is definitely need to promote more policies which talk about gender diversity and inclusion. So organizations these days are very serious about their own DE&I agendas, but how many organizations? There are very few which talk about these, parameters in their organizations. When it comes to DE&I, they are currently only talk about, most of them are talking about diversity hires, right? And that's where it stops. But there is more to the diversity agenda. There are more aspects that we require. There are more resources that we require. And there is definitely a lot more that needs to be done by having policies which break the glass ceiling, having growth opportunities for women in workplaces, etc. And it is said that there is a pay gap in terms of organization, and there is gender pay gaps. And globally, it's said that there is I think a pay gap of almost to the tune of 30 to 33% between men and women, and there is need to close that gap. And as organization, if we start valuing and hiring people for skills and not for their gender roles that people play, then organizations can definitely do their bit and contribution to the equality agenda. And there is definitely need for promoting more women entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs, and having more women at the top. And to deal with this, do we deal with stereotypes? And there is need to address the challenges that top, leadership women in leadership face. There are a lot of schemes by various organizations which promote women entrepreneurs, but it's far too less. We need to do something, and as educationists, it becomes our responsibility to give confidence to our, young girls and contributors that they can go out and conquer the world. Definitely, more needs to be done. And the organizations which work in this space of women empowerment, there is much more need for more such organization. They definitely need to be advocating more for the women's right at all forums, and we have to make sure that there is support at hand for victims of gender-based violence and harassment issues, etc. Because right now we are talking about having just one law, but there is definitely what happens to the victim. Do they have the the medical support? Do they have the psychological support? Do they have the social support? Do they have enough confidence and support to come back to the organization and contribute despite facing violence and harassment issues at workplace? So having these policies, agendas, and contributors, and championing for the cause of gender equality at all forums, at the government forums, at the national forums, at the global forums, etc., so that all genders have a voice. And if we marginalize one specific gender, we are actually compromising on the quality of human resources. We are compromising on the quality of skills that can come from the other gender that we are talking about. So there's a lot more that can be done. And since most of us are from the higher education space, these are some of the recommendations that UNESCO IESALC has made, especially to promote the SDG 5 agenda at the higher educational institution levels. So they say that as an institution, if organizations which are in the space of education, if you could have fields of study which bring about professions in the areas of gender studies, gender justice, gender equality, then more champions would come out into the world who would talk about SDG 5 and champion for more schemes and implementation requirements for the SDG 5 agenda. At the university and higher educational institution levels, they suggested a need for integrating gender equality in the curricula that we offer to all students, depending upon the level of education and the level of involvement and implementation concerns. There is definitely need to map our curricula with the reference to gender balances, gender inequalities, gender justices, the concept of equity, the concept of violence, and the issues of harassment. And since research is at the heart of education, there is need. They're proposing that there is definitely need for having more research in the areas of gender issues, the inequalities that exist in the society, at the workplace, at the local level, at the domestic front, or even at the national and the global front, and sharing these researches so that people read about these issues and are somehow motivated to think about these inequalities which are gender driven. And there is need to promote gender balance within researchers as well. Especially in India, we say that women find safe haven in the education sector. The numbers speak that there are more women teachers and faculty members in the higher education institutions. But the numbers, the NRF figures, if you look at the women diversity, are speaking something else. And when it comes to other recommendations by UNESCO IESALC, it talks about banning gender-based discrimination in all spaces, ensuring that providing safe space for work, education, etc., not only for students, but also for staff, faculty members from sexual harassment, creating awareness about issues of sexual harassment at workplace, and also the space of education, dealing with issues of violence and taking it seriously and not dismissing concerns of girl students who come forward when they feel unsafe at their space of education, and ensuring that we provide a safe opportunity for all genders. And there is recommendation of promoting maternal rights and ensuring that as an organization, we could have paid maternity and paternity leaves depending upon the local laws and affordable childcare services. So here, again, it has to be balanced with the legislations and the implementations and moving beyond compliance requirements. And if all of us are doing well in the space of gender, why not talk about it? Why not share with all the best practices so that others also learn from your experiences, and especially champion for women's rights, because I'm stressing time and again, SDG 5 agenda, especially for India, is performing poorly. So there are two SDGs which are not doing really well as per Niti Aayog's 23-24 report, which is SDG 2 and SDG 5. And since the theme of this session is SDG 5, there is a lot more that each one of us who's in the space of learning, education, and creating opportunities can do and contribute a bit in promoting more equality. And so if you're doing good work, why not report it? So there are a lot of surveys that happen at the national and the global level. So these are the top 5 educational institutions in India which are championing gender equality. So this report is impact rankings of Times Higher Education 2024, and especially on the parameters of gender equality. If you see, these are the top 5 institutions. So there's the whole list that is available in the link, which I will share with all of you. But if you are championing the cause of gender justice, gender equality, talk about it. And if you as an institution are branding yourself as an organization, as an institution which promotes equality in all sense of space, you will definitely attract the right talent, you will attract the right kind of students, and definitely your rankings would improve. And so talk about this agenda in any forum that you're part of, and promote the SDG 5. And since I said that the national agenda does support SDG 5, but there's a lot more that can be done. I think Arun, one of the participants here, did talk about the first scheme, Beti Bachao and Beti Padhao. These are some of the schemes which are especially targeted at SDG 5. And each scheme has the gendered perspective in place, that there needs to be gender justice, there needs to be space for equality, and there needs to be equal opportunities at the education space, at the entrepreneurship space, at the finance space, and maternity, healthcare, etc., and need for women representation in the decision making at the national level. So to each one of us, we must look at national schemes as well as state level schemes, and look at the common agenda for state as well as the national schemes, and see if we are contributing a bit for promoting this SDG 5 agenda, and are we really making it safer for our students to think about an India which is an equal country in all sense of the word, especially in terms of gender, and promote awareness about various schemes that exist, and ensure that when it comes to looking for data points, all our regulators keep asking us for data points. It is for looking at the implementation of these schemes, and let us be be open to sharing this information, because this is what puts India on the global map as a country which promotes equality. And again, I would want to stress on the fact that we all need to do our bit. There is a lot more that needs to be done, and not simply focusing only on the Government of India schemes. Do we have special initiatives in our own institutions, our own organizations? Are we publicizing these opportunities that created at the national level, at the local level, at the district level, to all our stakeholders and participants in the ecosystem that we are part of? And here I want to showcase a small video. It all talks about where to begin when we talk about the issue of gender equality and justice. So there is need to hit at the gender stereotype that exists in our society. And let me showcase this video. So this is an advertisement, but it communicates the spirit of equality at workplace, and need for changing the perception?
ये हो गया complete and recommended promotion list.
Thank you. Kiran, recommended by Rajat. Obviously.
Who's Kiran? And why obvious?
So Kiran, star of Rajat's team. Rajat उसको हर प्रोजेक्ट में ले लेता है सर. He says they make a great team. यंग है, फ्रेशर है, पर रजत को उस पे पूरा भरोसा है सर. एंड जब देखो दे वर्किंग टुगेदर. Not just in office, huh? They spend weekends also on work. On discussions, brainstorming sessions, yeah, some presentations. सबसे पहले ऑफिस आते हैं, सबसे लेट निकलते हैं. For them, it's all about work, sir.
हम भी देखें रजत का रिकमेंडेशन.
Sure, sir.
Yes, sir.
हाँ, किरण को अंदर भेजना.
Sure, sir.
Thank you. Everyone, this is Kiran.
So everyone, the purpose of showing this advertisement was just to hit the point across that gender biases, gender stereotypes exist, and it is aimed at all genders. And let us remove our colored lenses of social expectations and cultural expectations, and treat all genders with the equal respect that each one of us expects. And if all of you are looking for more data points, there's most recent study by IIM Ahmedabad Gender Studies Group, and they carried out a study on SDG 5, and they talked about various issues. And I would want to share, one statistics here which they showed. Can you all confirm if you see my Google Chrome here? Can somebody confirm? Yes? Do you see your document?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, yes.
Okay, great.
Yes,
So
ma'am, it's visible.
yes, great. So before I end this session, I thought I will showcase this most recent study which talks about gender inequality in India. And all of you can access it. I'll share the link. It's already there in the presentation, which will be shared with all of you. But just look at these numbers. I will not talk about it. Just read it yourself and try to make sense that is that really, are we talking about an equal, opportunity or equal country currently? Just look at these statistics. I'm sure all of you can see it, right? So look at the health numbers, look at the female to male ratio, look at the health opportunities, the literacy rates, look at the economic indicators in terms of contribution in the workforce, look at the pay gap. Look at the power of influence of women in terms of parliament representation. Look at the NCRB data, which talks about the crime against women. So no one is saying that only one gender requires support. but we need to look at the historical background, if we've had it equal or not, and then rethink on our agenda and talk about it. So I would want to end my session by asking each one of you think of top 3 actions that you as a stakeholder for your own institution and organization would want to contribute to the SDG 5. So you all can think about it, and if you want, we could hear 1 or 2 of you, or you could share it on the group as well, because I would really love to hear your thoughts that what would be your top 3 actions or initiatives that you would want to contribute to for promoting the SDG 5 agenda in our country. So each one of you, this is my expectation from all of you, and you can take your time. You can post it on a WhatsApp group, or you can email it to us. This would help us share our learning with all of you when we finalize the report on the FDP. But the purpose of asking this question is to at least make us think, go beyond the comfort zone that all of us are in, or in the mirage that we are living in, that it is an equal space, all employees are equal, they have equal opportunity, they get the same pay, but the data at the national level speaks something else. And this is my last video for all of you, because the issue of gender equality rests a lot with gender violence, and the session on gender justice and equality should be talking about the issue of sexual harassment of women at workplace. And I wanted to showcase this video because this is part of a lot of educational awareness requirements of Ministry of Women and Child Development. And we need to talk about the issue of sexual harassment and workplace. And since the time that we have is limited, I just wanted to leave all of you with this video by, telling you and stressing you that help is out there, but all of us need to do our bit. And in our respective organization and institutions, we must fight for equality and extend support for various gender programs. So let us watch this video, everyone.
He just put his arms around me on my shoulders and then just tried to be, he was almost over me. Then he would make sure that I leave the organization.
Did you know that sexual harassment is a criminal offense, is punishable with imprisonment of up to 3 years?
Every organization has to follow the law on sexual harassment of women at workplace, be it big or small, and whether it has women employees or not.
An organization has to help you lodge a complaint with the complaint committee of the organization that the harasser is working, or even lodge a police complaint against the harasser if you desire.
The evaluation of sexual harassment charge depends on how a woman sees it. What matters is what you perceived and not what the harasser says he intended.
The law mandates confidentiality. This is to prevent the identification of women, harasser, witness in the public or the media.
Did you know that you need lesser proof under the law than you need to get justice under the criminal law? In this case, you need to prove only the probability, whereas under the criminal law, the proof has to be beyond reasonable doubt.
You can make a sexual harassment complaint against an organization's employee even if you don't work there. You could be anybody, a visitor, a customer, a bystander, or a job seeker, but still be able to complain.
Did you know that the law provides prompt remedy? That's because the complaint committee has to finish the inquiry within 90 days, and the 90-day period starts from when the complaint has been lodged and not from when the incident has occurred.
So everyone, that brings us to the end of the session, and we are open for questions. Would love to hear your thoughts. And I just want to end by stating the fact that we all need to do a bit in promoting a country and an organization which is safer for all. And let us really talk about equality in the sense of true sense of equality. It is the right for every citizen of a country. So everyone, let me hear your questions and comments, anything you want to add. Would love to hear. You can type in your questions. I see that I think Vinita had asked that what strategies can organizations implement to achieve gender parity in leadership positions. So Vinita, there are a lot of strategies that one can use. And first and foremost, you need to definitely look at the ground realities, look at the figures, statistics, and data points which talk about the issue of gender inequality and the equity issues at workplace. And then having policies in place which talk about, doing away with the biasness in the process of initiating leadership hires and training women employees in the necessary skill sets and attitude requirements and ability concerns for handling leadership positions, having women leadership schemes, having programs which support growth and success of women at workplace, safety at work, etc., capacity building initiatives that organizations can have, having incentives for women so that they find these opportunities not as restrictors for their social expectations and roles in the society, but as a fulfillment for their individual identity into the society, and many initiatives, pay parity, ensuring that you contribute and recognize better performers, leadership champions, mentors being assigned to women who have a high potential, and many such initiatives, leadership um, camps, labs, etc. So, Satya, there is need for having a comprehensive approach, which may require systemic support, which may require administrative approach, which may require behavioral approach as well. So all comprehensive approach is required to deal with issues of gender justice at workplace and society. Like I was talking about, national level, district level, local level, and organizational level, and even as NGOs and organizations which support the gender agenda. So there is definitely need for collaboration at each stage. Any more questions? So, Sharif, maybe, if you could share that question which I had on the WhatsApp group, and let's look at responses from everyone from there. Okay, Vanda. So Vanda, everyone is sharing that promoting gender equality begins at home, which we have definitely been talking about. And it is about starting young. It is about dealing with the, again, gendered expectations and telling people what is wrong and what is not acceptable. And I remember, I think Dr. Ishrat talking about it, that if we have needs for food, we think of mom always. And when there are some other issues, we think of dad. So those things begin at home. Are we the change that we want to see in the world? Again, making a cliched statement, it is used, but it has stood the test of time, that please walk the talk. Show it in what you do. Let it not be, only lip service that we do as institutions. And let's begin young. Anyone else wants to share their thoughts, questions? Okay, Dr. Veerbhadra Rao, the issue is not of rural and urban only, or religion or ethnicity, but it is about the lack of awareness. And even in the urban sense of space, the role expectations are not clearly defined. The family dynamics are such that people still are living in the old India and still appreciating those things. And whenever somebody talks about it, then people uh, uh, you know view these thoughts negatively and brand that person as somebody who's only a woman's champion, or is talking about women empowerment. But it is truly about educating everyone about equality in all sense of space, not only rural, everywhere it's required. Even literacy. So look at the literacy aspect, no? So is literacy, there has to be interconnectedness. Simply providing access to education and not providing opportunities to leverage education is not the right gender balance. So knowledge is power. As long as we share knowledge and create more awareness, and having support system and resource framework, and institutions which promote gender equality, then we will truly talk about SDG 5 reaching its peak. And it's not only in India. Globally, the things are not great. So I think, everyone, that brings us to the end of this session. So maybe if you could have your cameras on for a picture, everyone. Atul?
Yes, ma'am, I'll do that.
Great. Right, thank you. So everyone, I'm really happy to introduce the next speaker for our session. Dr. Vora, are you here? I think I saw.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure hosting you at NDIM. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So everyone, I'm extremely happy to introduce and share the illustrious experience of our next speaker. It's Dr. Manu K. Vora. He's a PhD and MBA and is the chairman and president of Business Excellence INC, a global quality management consulting firm. He has over 50 years of leadership experience guiding Fortune 500 companies with Waldrich Performance Excellence Award framework. He's also the chairman and president Business Excellence INC USA since 2000. He has 50 years of leadership experience and has been guiding Fortune 500 companies. Has rich 32 years plus experience as adjunct faculty globally in operations management space. He's contributed at 680 educational institutions worldwide. He's delivered 1,350 plus presentations and published 75 scholarly articles. He's written 50 blog posts on quality management. He's given 2 TEDx talks in 2013 in India at IIT BHU and USA at IIT Chicago. He's designed and delivered soft skills program to over 1.2 million people. He is appointed as the Fulbright Specialist, U.S. Department of State from 2016 to 2023. He's also the president of Blind Foundation of India from 1989 till now and has raised over $7 million for the cause. Is a BTech from IIT BHU Varanasi, MS and PhD in Chemical Engineering from IIT Chicago. It's MBA with Marketing Management from Keller GSM Chicago and has delivered 48 sessions at AICTE ATAL Academy FDPs in 21-22. A very renowned figure, knowledgeable contributor, and all of us will definitely learn from his expertise. He's peer-reviewed 68 AICTE ATAL Academy FDPs in 2021-22, and he's had 6 medals for quality and 4 medals for philanthropy in 2000 to 2015, 60 awards for outstanding professional contributions, 40 awards for lifelong selfless community service, World Book of Records at London, UK recognition for his social work in 2022, and is one of the Jewels of India, Volume 2 book with 75 Indo-American personalities in 2023. And it is our honor to host Dr. Manu K. Vora at this platform at NDIM space. And Dr. Vora would be talking about his expertise and would be covering the issue of aligning academic research with sustainable development. It's my pleasure to welcome you, Dr. Vora. Thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this session. It's a pleasure, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Singh, for a very kind introduction. Also want to thank Dr. Sharif for inviting me in the first place, and Atul Rawatji for all the technical support. So thank you all the key people who have been instrumental in hosting this FDP. So if I allowed to share the screen, let me do that. And good evening to all the friends who have joined across India and some from the United States. Today's topic is highly relevant to all of us because what we do as a faculty is to inculcate the love for learning, teaching, research, and helping the society to do better as we go forward. Kindly confirm that the title slide is open for all of us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's open and visible.
Okay, thank you. So, brief outline for my talk for next 90 minutes. I'll briefly touch upon my research journey of 60 plus years. Then I'm sure all of you have now known about the 17 SDGs from the United Nations. We'll just put it as a reference. I'm going to propose a SDGs related research model up front and then dive into why it's important to do the research at the India scene, define sustainability, how to identify SDGs research opportunities, and then how do we conduct the research. Most important aspect is the practical experience and framework about SDG research projects, with a tremendous focus on project management, which is not so good in India, leaving aside few institutes. Research methodology, education, and need for it. How do we build the capacity of our researchers? Most important, how do we do collaborations for the SDG related research nationally, internationally, etc.? And how do we communicate the research impact, talent recognition of all the researchers, recommendations? And most important, I would request all of you to pay attention to take two key takeaways from this session. We go through many lectures, many FDPs, but unless we make a determination to take few key takeaways, that knowledge is just sitting there. We need to make use of that knowledge. Thank you. So very briefly, at a high level, started my journey in research as an undergraduate at IIT BHU, my alma mater in Varanasi. So I had three different research projects, one in the second year on doing the survey and writing a report. Then in the final year, plant design and equipment design, they were the research projects. Now keeping in mind, they were all solo. So I want to emphasize that we need to think about, as an educator in India, how do we create team projects where we are engaging 4 to 5 students under the guidance of a professor who can help them do the research in a team fashion. Because at the end of the day, teams are the one who work on projects in real life and make them successful. The journey has continued for education at the master's, PhD level, basic research. Mine was an experimental, and then MBA, several projects, including a capstone project. So all in all, I've been honored to guide 8 PhDs, 7 in India, 1 here in the US, 10 master's theses, and over 300 research projects at the MBA level. So a lot of experience learning and helping my students to do the best they can and give them all the resources they needed to complete their project successfully. So this is more a refresher, 17 SDGs from the United Nations. Research is applicable in all of them. Primarily, number 4, quality education, that's where it should be residing. Now, let me propose a simple model for SDG-related research with the acronym FSFRRI. First F is focus, where SDG research should become a national priority. Second, S, sense of urgency, a mandate for HEI leadership to conduct the SDG-related research. Funding, allocate proper funding, otherwise lip service doesn't do the job. Resource allocation, assigning mentors, infrastructure, including training, etc. Results, obviously, number of papers published, presentations made, and patents granted. And the impact at the end of the day, real life impact to the society. So if we focus on these 6 elements, we can create a research ecosystem in India which could be superior to any of the other organizations and the nations in the world. Now, let's briefly review why research is important. So countries' sustainable growth and competitiveness depends on research, both basic and applied. Now, if we look at some of the rankings, NIRF from the Ministry of Education, the research counts for 30% for engineering and management. That include publications, volume, quality, and patents granted. Times Higher Education World University Rankings, 30% for research and 30% for citations. Unfortunately, not a single Indian university in top 250 rankings per 2025 results. If you look at World University Research Rankings, out of 240 ranks, only 3 got the place, 218 to 233. IIT Bombay, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and IIT Delhi. In the Science Citation Index and Social Sciences Citation Index, India is at number 3, China number 1, US number 2. And if you look at world intellectual property data about patents granted, India is at number 6. So as we see, the focus on research is not great in India. We need to do better. Now, since the topic is around sustainability, let's go back to basics, define the sustainability for everyone. It impacts all the stakeholders, and it is just managing the triple bottom line, that is economic, environmental, and social. We also refer to it as a profit, planet, and people. Fortunately, there are 3 international standards which can empower organization to achieve the triple bottom line by using ISO 9000 for economic, ISO 14,000 for environmental, and ISO 26,000 for social standards leading to sustainable development. So as we can see, no matter what domain you are in, you can pick up a sustainable development project and research project in any of these domains, economic, environmental, or social, and it will add value for betterment of the society and the world. Now, how do we identify SDGs research opportunities? So my suggestion is there should be a national repository web-based system at the Ministry of Education for the entire nation, and convene a panel of expert researchers from Indian HEI's research lab and foreign experts for a brainstorming session to find out what the best requirements are for national repository. Once the repository is in place at each HEI, ask the leadership to get engaged to solicit meaningful ideas on SDG research, essentially create a suggestion system, and create at each HEI evaluation team of 5 to 6 expert researchers to sort through submitted research ideas and select the most meaningful ideas to implement, and make meaningful research ideas under consideration visible for possible collaboration among HEIs and research labs, and continue to update the repository with opening and closing of the meaningful research ideas with good results. Now, this one will require a lot of focus and commitment to get it done. And once again, the leaders are the one responsible to make it happen. And everything starts from the top, and it should percolate throughout the organization. Now, how to do research? Now, all of you as a distinguished faculty know about what is research. It can be basic, applied, or experimental. You can have either qualitative or quantitative methodology. And my request is the faculty must engage, excite, empower, and challenge all students at different level, undergrad, grad, postgrad, to conduct the research, get them interested in doing a research under their guidance. Most importantly, faculty need to spend time with the students by coaching them what it takes to do world-class research, and they should encourage the creativity, curiosity, and innovativeness through research. Now, I'm going to stop sharing point, and I will take questions from the chat box. So, Dr. Sharif, please help me along, and let's keep clearing the deck as we go forward.
Okay, sir.
Only through chat box, please. For the content we have covered so far, please help with any questions or queries. And let's make it interactive, because otherwise it's a one-way street only, and I'll get tired at the end of the 90 minutes by just talking. So let's have some interaction for understanding and sharing what you do at your place and what makes sense. So please. Any questions so far, Dr. Sharif?
No questions, sir. So I request from all the participants to kindly ask the questions.
And Dr. Sharif, you or Dr. Tina Singh, if you have any question or a comment, most welcome to get the ball rolling.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Kindly put your item in the chat box in the interest of time and volume control, etc. Please. Thank you, Dr. Prabhu. And let's make good use of the time, because ultimately we only have 90 minutes to complete the presentation, and we have a few more important ideas to discuss with all of you. Okay, so I see a question. How can research at undergrad and postgrad can vary for guiding students? Fundamentals should remain the same. The level of complexity goes up when you move from undergrad to grad to the postgrad. And numbers also decline as you move forward in the hierarchy from undergrad, grad to postgrad. So there'll be more one-on-one interactions at the higher level, but focus on creating teams of researchers working together, leveraging the experiences from each other based on what they have done, doing internship, etc. So that will be my suggestion. Any funding agencies for SDGs, it should start with the Ministry of Education, and then statewide funding should be provided through the Ministry of Education and Education Department. Our SDGs are linked to Millennium Development Goals. We speak of SDGs. So the Millennium Development Goals, as we saw 17 of them, and we can pick and choose when we pick up the research project. and link it with any one of the 17 or all of them and try to get the maximum out of it to make a big impact at the end of the day. We're supposed to ask to take students' project by referring peers to other reputed journals. So, any clarity on your questions? So one of the outcome basically is the work done for working on a research to get it published in the peer-reviewed reputed journals. And this is where your role as a mentor comes in very focus. Whatever way you have been successful in publishing, you should provide that guidance to your students who are doing the great research and get them published and put them on the map. Any repository or problem statement related to available, at least from my perspective, I do not know. There may be some here in the audience who may have some idea about where the repository or problem statement is. And my guess is this is a process needs to be started at the highest level, Ministry of Education, Government of India. Next question, basic difference between university in India and US in terms of functionality. Why do we lag in research despite 1.5 billion people? Yeah, so I think this goes back to the historical way we have been taught. Under British rule, there was no focus on research. There was focus on creating a person know a little bit about certain things and don't give them full idea about what's the full scope of the work is. So we created more like an assembly line where people memorize and vomit in the final exam. So our education system is at fault in terms of lack of research, and that has continued and it needs to be changed. And a little later, I'll be talking about innovative way to learn with a different pedagogy and continuous assessment so that we provide the fundamentals to our students on how to conduct research, how to do the research, and then assess their outcome in a different way rather than focus on MCQs and taking the exams and exams and exams. So this is where I think we need to change fundamentally. I think we had a good bit of questions here. I'll keep moving in the interest of time. So please allow me to go back to the slides. We'll have a few more interactions before we come towards the end of the presentation. Now, please pay attention to this aspect, which is highly practical. I'm very happy to share that for last 18 years, I've been teaching at Northwestern University School of Professional Studies. Quality Assurance Project Management is the course. Generally, we have a smaller classes at the graduate level here, anywhere between 8 to 16 people show up in the class from food, pharma, medical devices, etc. For 10 weeks online way, we work together and they work in a team fashion. And I provide all the guidance, all the templates needed for them to do live research on a topic of interest assigned to them. And my suggestion is based on that experience, plus teaching a Gyan program on project management at IIT BHU back in 2016. One, you select a SDG-related research topic of relevance and interest. Assemble a small team, 4 to 5 people with the interest, skills, and knowledge. Clearly define each one's responsibility. One will become a leader with the overall responsibility to make sure research is conducted and results are available at the end. One will become communicator internally and externally. one person becomes very specifically focused on researching the topic and assign two people, one for the editing the report and one for editing the presentation. Unless the team roles are assigned, team members will keep working on things of their interest only, and they will point fingers at others. Clearly defined responsibility will put the full focus on getting things done. Once the team is formed, the faculty should ensure that it's fully functional. I'll share the guidance from Patrick Lencioni on how to make the team effective. And one of the biggest challenge we have all over the world on the projects is lack of use of a project charter, which is more like a blueprint. So if you want to build a house or a building or a factory, you need a blueprint from which the builder will build the necessary structure. Same thing is required for each and every project. There should be a charter, and I'll share with you a simple example I use in my classes on project management. And make use of the appropriate project management tools, which includes the one listed here: work breakdown structure, Gantt chart, project goals, critical path method, how to communicate in a project, overcoming crisis of silence for better results on the project, risk metrics, risk management strategies, status reporting on a regular basis, and the project report at the end when the research is completed. And I have simple examples for each one of these tools as well, just to give you the guidance. So let's start the journey. Once a faculty has assembled a team, should make sure that none of these dysfunctions are present in the team members. It begins with having a trust among each of the members by being open to their strengths and weaknesses, being vulnerable to each other. When discussion is going on, everybody should speak rather than create an artificial harmony of not speaking up. So create a culture of constructive conflict by engaging with each other, and based on everyone's input, topics should go forward, and everybody should work on the issues commonly understood by everyone within the team. When the assignments are being made, the commitment can only be garnered if there is no ambiguity. So everything should be crystal clear. And once the task or a subtask is assigned, hold them responsible for the results, because sum total of their results will become the output of the research project. And sometimes people just sit on the teams working on the research, and they may have some ego, personal ego, and something about their own status, so they don't do any work. That's detrimental for the progress of the team. Now, I want to share with you a project charter sample I use in my project management courses. And please bear with me, I've been through the under the weather for a little while. It's extremely cold in the Chicago area. We hit -10 Fahrenheit, absolute temperature yesterday night. So project information up front, project team, stakeholders, project scope, purpose, business justification, mainly creative vision and mission for your project, objectives in business terms, deliverables, continue with the scope. What will be the scope of the research? What's in, what's out? Project milestones. very important when you are working on a research and a project, something unknown you are getting into. Risk is inherent part of that equation. So you need to identify what are the possible risks which can derail your research project and rate them with the guidance by brainstorming with what is high, medium, or low rating of the risk. Any constraints, external dependencies, communication strategy, who is going to do what, when, and how, and sign off. I surmise that in all over the world, through research, we know that only 25 to 30% of the projects are successful, the rest fail. One of the underlying issue is lack of project charter, and this project charter forces you to think through all these issues up front and then work as a blueprint to continue your great research to bring the best results you are capable of bringing. So work breakdown structure. So metaphor here is you want to eat an elephant. How do you do that? One chunk at a time. Of course, I'm vegetarian, so I don't eat meat, but that's a metaphor for the project. At the highest level, you are at level 1. You start doing segmentation into level 2, smaller chunks, level 3. Ultimately, you go to the level where the subtasks can be assigned 1 or 2 or 3 to a specific individual who will carry out those tasks, subtasks, and then you move it up to complete the project. Gantt chart is an extremely simple tool, and there are softwares available. Microsoft Project Professional is a great tool. It's a little expensive, but you can have a Excel spreadsheet to create a Gantt chart as well. This allows you to map out all the key items to be done to complete your research and complete your projects from the beginning to the end, when things will begin, when things will end, and what are the dependency among the tasks and subtasks. Keep in mind that each of the projects have a simple 3 goals: performance, cost, and schedule. And you need to hit the target for all 3 of them. Now, this is another important tool that when you are working on a research project, you need to think about what are the critical paths for completing the research project. So in the interest of time, I'll give out the solution here. There are 4 stations on the left: 11 to 6, 5 to 6, 4 to 6, and 8 to 6. After that, it goes to station 7. So 5, 6, 4, 6, and 8, 6. Each one of these requires 1 week, whereas 11 to 6 only takes a day. So obviously 11 to 6, then to 7 is not on a critical path. You can do it any time of the week. All you need is day work. But each of these paths, 5, 6, 7, 4, 6, 7, and 8, 6, 7, they are on a critical path. If any one of the critical path is not maintained and managed, and your research will be delayed by that amount. So identifying critical path is extremely important for your project and ultimate outcomes on a timely basis. Now let's focus a little communication. A sender sends the message within the team. Receiver gets it. It should be acknowledged. Normally we do one-way communication. We ask somebody for input, requirements, etc. Once we receive it, we forget to acknowledge that yes, we received it. And that is not a good way to communicate. Communication should be two-way for the success of the project and the success of your research. Communication effectiveness is important. Feedback, relevancy, timely feedback, and useful feedback. Just don't tell them it's not good. Specific guidance on what is missing and what needs to be expected to be completed in what time frame. Now we talked about 25 to 30% of the projects and research projects are successful, the rest fail. Beautiful article from MIT Sloan Management Review, how to overcome the crisis of silence, and there are 5 of them. First, the team should plan around the facts. Secondly, project sponsor must provide support. Third, they should be faithful to the project management process. 4, honestly assess progress and the risk of the project as they go forward. And all team members must pull their weight, because if 1 or 2 are slacking off, that team will be suboptimal and they will not be firing on all cylinders. That's just for the fun. Risk metrics, and by the way, this is one of the weak area we have. So my general observation is we need to be providing project management and risk management courses and make it compulsory in all domain, because if they learn how to do project well, it will serve them well throughout the life and serve the organization well, and it applies to all domains. Through the help of the members on the team, do a quick brainstorming, what can go wrong. So you find out what will go wrong, that's the likelihood of something going wrong, and what will be its impact, that's the consequences on the x-axis. And then you create these metrics, items in the red, you have to create a risk response plan, and you continue to monitor those risks throughout the life of the project and ensure that those risks do not terminate the project prematurely without getting results. Risk management strategies, is it controllable? Then you focus on prevention. Not controllable, work with the contingency plan you have developed while you are doing the risk management planning upfront. Now, this is one way to look at it. You start your project on a research project you are beginning. Before the risk materializes, focus on prevention and planning. Something goes wrong on the project along the way, then the focus should be on the risk recovery using the contingency plans. And these are extremely important concepts and topic one needs to be addressing. First, faculty should be proficient in project management and risk management, and then provide the training to their students who are as well. We will take a look at the beautiful YouTube on project management historical view, and then we'll take the questions about the segment we have just covered. So let's enjoy the project management history.
It's as if something were calling, a voice from the past, like some sort of inherited memory.
So let's stop the sharing at this point and take up any questions. This is a very important aspect, using project management as a backbone for all your research work. And if we can do it successfully, good results are definitely likely to come through. So let's have some questions and comments on the segment we have just covered. And it's totally practical. Okay, kindly put your questions in the chat box. Any comments are most welcome as well. So Shiva Kumar has a comment here. Researcher is doing research in clean water production using renewable energy and publishing it paper in a reputable journal. Yes, answer is correct. Her publication will be considered map into goal 6 of clean water and sanitation, goal of 7 affordable clean energy, or in both. I believe it will be applicable for both because it will have impact and connection with two goals, and 17 of them. And what we need to do is have a primary goal attached to it, and then subsequent additional goals where there will be additional impact that can be looked at it as well. Thank you, Dr. George Thomas, for your kind comment about the presentation. Okay, thank you, Dr. Shiva Kumar. Please try to be more active in terms of posing the questions or any query you may have. We learn by asking questions, and this is one of the other observation I have. I've been teaching at the ground level in India since 2006 to students, year 2000 to executives. In India, we have a tendency not to ask the questions. Even if you are not clear, questions will not be asked because people are shy. You need to overcome that and pose the question and learn from asking the question so others in the audience will also benefit. It's good for everyone. One more questions or comments, please, then we'll keep moving. And this is all practical, needs to be done.
Sir, we get two questions. One from Veer Bahadur Rao. He's asking, project managers need stricter and harder regulation, and many organizations use the concept to hire and fire the methods, leading to more unemployment for those whose responses to situations are not clever.
Yeah, this is an unfortunate outcome. The tools and techniques and the backbone of project management is to ensure that the project remains on track, not to punish people. So it's the fault of the people who are misusing project management to hire or fire the people. And that is sad. It needs to change. I'll leave it at that. And Dr. Ratna Dhingra, what to do if research gets delayed as per the Gantt chart, and what would be the best strategy? So I think that can be managed by doing a weekly status review to see why the project is getting delayed, and look for fundamental issues in the underlying process of getting things done. Don't blame the people. There could be some glitches, some technical issues which needs to be resolved. So as a team lead and the person who is assigned that task or a subtask, They need to sit down and figure out what additional resource they need to tap into and open up the resource and keep moving. So project can only be successful when it's reviewed on a periodic basis. And I'll give you one example. When I was at AT&T Bell Labs, we had a project with 70 managers from around the world working on this biggest issue, big challenge, the project we are on, helping the customers around the world. They will get every Friday morning 1 hour, and they will begin to share in few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, their status using the color coding. Green on target, red they have missed it, yellow likely to miss it. So no discussion on the solution in the status meeting. Identify issues and use the color coding, red, green, or yellow. So that discipline needs to be put in place in order to ensure that the project is on track. Okay, we have more questions here. Veerbhadra Rao, what motivational tools should be recommended for low performance in project management process? I think clear discussion by the team lead, working with the person who is not performing, find out what's the root cause of the problem, underlying issue, and try to resolve that, and give clear guidance that if they're lacking in some skills, give them training assignments and ensure that they are supported. And even after that, if they cannot perform, put them on notice that they may be changed from the project and get somebody else to come and help out. Okay, Dr. Vinita, how can stakeholder expectation be managed through the project charter? Yeah, so you need to have the stakeholder expectations gathered, and the team should make sure that there is a golden thread from beginning to the end to ensure that the stakeholder expectations are managed and results are tied to the expectations set up front. So Sumit, at international level, how can we apply for more projects? Okay, so this is where collaboration part will come in play. So let's hold the thoughts on that briefly. Okay, so far. Okay, Shiva Kumar, is there any influence of AI in project management? Absolutely. But ensure that the AI is an enabler or a tool, not everything. You still need to have a foundation and fundamental of project management under control. Okay, I think we'll stop here for the chat. And back to the presentation. So I have to keep moving. I'm about halfway done. Okay, so my simple request is, if we want to do world-class research, we need to provide world-class research methodology education to our researchers who are young, very enthusiastic to do the research, but they lack the basic foundation. So that's course curriculum I'm suggesting. A 24 to 30 hours course should be taught to all prospective researchers. It should focus on research methodology, how to identify research opportunity within the SDGs, big focus on use of stat for data management. Statistics is underlying major enabler. Ethical decision making, this is big thing. Making the decision making in an ethical way, including value education, effective writing, because the work done needs to be written up effectively the proposal, reports, patents, effective presentations both to sponsors and the scientific community, time management, one of the three components, schedule issue, project management, extremely critical risk management, etc. And when you teach this research methodology, I'm going to describe a innovative pedagogy of collaborative, experiential, and outcome-based teaching learning process, which has been adopted by AICTE for ATAL Academy FDP's 22-23 cycle, and assign a team research project, ask them to develop a project report and present findings in the class in a team setting. This is again a very important slide. If you want to create world-class researchers, we need to give them world-class basic education in research methodology. Now I'll work through some of the important aspects on education. So let's look at what Albert Einstein is saying to us on education. It is the supreme art of teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge. If you can't explain simply, you don't understand it well enough. So make it extremely simple by understanding it first, you as a faculty. Only source of knowledge is experience. Learn from yesterday, leave for today, and hope for tomorrow. I hope we can take few things to heart as a teacher, as a researcher. Very important thing that when we are teaching something to our students, we should keep in mind ultimate aim of the education is to create responsible citizens in India, and they can shine throughout the world, and encourage them to do community service for nation building. The key values to inculcate for character building are ethics, honesty, integrity, compassion for others, practice of non-violence, practice of truth, respect for elderly, respect for environment, reverence for teachers, the gurus, all of you, and spirit of collaboration, cooperation rather than competition and cutting each other down. So this should be our role as a faculty to provide value education in all domains we are teaching in. I'll work through innovative pedagogy very quickly. And I published a book chapter from Higher Education Forum in Mumbai in 2023. I'll be happy to share that article with Dr. Sharif. It's a short 5-page article. Learners' engagement is very important. So when I started teaching after 18 years of industry experience, my goal was my students should be involved in their own learning. And when they learn something, they need to apply it right away and share it with the others in the class. And we have a big focus here in the Western world to leverage peer learning and class interaction, which should be improved in India. Mostly it's lacking. And if it is done, it's not done in a level which needs to be done at. Now, happy to share 12 keys to the kingdom for learners' engagement. So let me populate them first. So for a given topic, at the beginning, I assign a topic to research to a student. That person does a brief research and come back and share, and I keep rotating them. Share the importance of the topic. As a faculty, it's my role. Third item, real-world application to excite students about the topic. And I ask topical question at the beginning to get the ball rolling, more like icebreaker. And me as a faculty, my focus should be deliver basic concepts and principles, so there is no need for memorization. And our British system, we are wedded to memorize and vomit in the final exam with no retention is not a great model to work with. Faculty needs to allow curiosity and innovativeness to flourish in the classroom. And key takeaways at the end of the session for common understanding. These 4 items, 8 through 11, I took it from the Harvard Business Publishing. They suggest do short polls or voting, arrange role plays appropriate, create small group to discuss and report back in the class, form teams to work on the project and share the project results, and invite guest speakers for broadening the perspective. And sincere request, we as a faculty must replenish our knowledge so that we are at the cutting edge and give cutting edge to our students. And if we do that, we get a gold star. Incidentally, all of these suggestions were implemented for the AICTE ATAL Academy 22-23 cycle. So I want to share with you, since 1993, when I joined the academia, I brought the observation from the industry that success came through teamwork. So my focus was the team should be simulated within the classroom. And these are graduate level courses I was working with. So I'm proposing a learning effectiveness model, collaborative, experiential, and outcome-based. Collaborative team focus and cooperation among members of the team across the teams. Experiential, there is a case study, 8 to 10 articles they read, cases they read, discuss, and learn from it. Work on a live project. And outcome-based, there is a reflection journal at the conclusion, focus on implementation. So let me share a few templates which have been adopted for AICTE ATAL Academy as well. So we read a lot of articles, but at the end, everything gets mixed up. So in order to keep the focus, I request all my students to read articles in a individual basis and then in a team, and then write down 3 simple things: key principles and practices from the article, application of principles and practices in their function by putting their own name after each item, and key takeaways from the article. So this way, there is a good focus on learning the best, the nectar from the article. Reflection journal, 3 major items, 3 key learnings, the outcomes from the course, 3 key lessons, the concept they will implement, and implementation plan for the 3 key lessons on a single page in the bullet form. The focus on implementation. And I use no midterm or end term exams in my classes. And I also taught in India, one place, Great Lake Institute of Management. They required the end term exams, about 15%, rest were these items, the discussion board, individual article or case reading, discussion and summaries on a team basis, team project report, team project presentations, and reflection journal. By doing these effective continuous assessments, continuous comprehensive assessments, you can figure out whether they are learning and able to apply on a live project. Taking exams and giving exams is a waste of time, at least from my perspective. And in that perspective, get away from the extremely high focus on exams to multiple ways to assess the growth of the students. Okay, I'll stop sharing here for a minute. Any quick questions? Let's take it. Okay, so there was a question, what's the strategy for initiating process or managing risk in the project? So first you need to identify all the risks possible where things can go wrong on a project. Then as I showed, you have to create a risk matrix, and for high and extremely high risk, you need to have a contingency plan. If something goes wrong, what are you going to do? So that contingency planning is important. Can AI help project manager analyze data, improve decision making, automate tasks? Yes, it can if it is used properly. But having the fundamental knowledge about project management, risk management is extremely critical. AI will not give you that foundation. It enables you to find the better solution on a timely basis. One more question, so we have to keep moving. Okay, I'll keep moving in the interest of time, so please bear with me.
So there is one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
From Samriti Mahajan. For providing degrees, can we stop talking mid-term and end-term exam? Will AICTE allow?
Yeah, so this is where I think we need to have a national discussion. Are we gaining what we are looking for in terms of learning from the students? Are we assessing the right way? I think there is even in the IITs some discussion about, is JEE the right way to ensure that the best students are getting through the system? Or are there any alternative ways to evaluate their intelligence and their ability to complete the rigorous course they will be undertaking at IITs? So, simple answer is we don't know, but we need to start the dialogue and raise the awareness that the current system is failing our students. Just look at the outcome: unemployment, underemployment, lack of skills, lack of knowledge. Exams is not everything. It only depends on the memory. If you have a good memory, you memorize and then get a good score, but it doesn't mean that you have knowledge to solve the real life problem. We'll leave it at that. So let's get moving into the presentation. Now to start bringing it home. Slowing down here slowly. Okay. Now I'm going to take you through the faculty excellence very quickly. What we see here is the average teacher explains complexity, but the gifted teacher will reveal simplicity. We should make an effort to learn the subject thoroughly, go to the principles and underlying guidance and the practices, and deliver the simplicity to our students. Faculty needs to learn in a different way, not just solo fashion, but they should be learning in a collaborative fashion under the scientific guidance of expert faculty, eminent resource people, doing a lot of introspection and reflections, and focus on peer learning and class interactions. In Sanskrit, there are many forms of teacher, and I'm sure some of you may know about it. As they are initially, when we deliver info, we are Adhyapak. Adding knowledge, we become Upadhyay. Delivering skills, we become Acharya. When we share insight, we get a title of Pandit. When we share visionary thinking, we become Trishta. And ultimately, when we share the wisdom, we become the Guru. So we as a faculty need to educate our students by engaging, energizing, entertaining, and empowering them. Use all the levers available to us. What's the role of the faculty? In a simple way, it's to engage the students by creating small groups excite them by showing applications, empower them by sharing resources, and challenge them to solve problems. Factors leading to a better faculty. This is from my practical experience. Love of learning. So I'm a lifelong student. I just completed 79 last October. I continue to read, replenish my knowledge, so I'm able to deliver the best to my students. Curiosity, empathy for my students, drive, determination, dedication, and discipline on the topics I'm working on, patience with my students, and perseverance to get things done. In the interest of time, I'll keep moving. We'll have enough time for question and answers at the end for about 5 minutes. So few more topics: collaboration and funding for SDG research. At the national level, set a realistic SDGs related research funding goal, say 10 to 15% of the education budget. Do a systematic research to learn about best practices from global HEIs by doing benchmarking, learning from the best of the best, how much they spend and what their outcome is. Allocate funding to HEIs based on national priority and sense of urgency. Individual or collaborative HEIs, SDGs research. And let me focus on the issue of collaboration. In India, everybody wants to be the best by suppressing others or by putting others down. Instead, if we start collaborating, everybody can go up. So that fundamental shift has to be made. Hold research-funded HEIs accountable for return on investment and through publications and patents. Widely share success stories related to research and their real-world impact, and recognize HEIs for doing best SDGs related research. So these are some ideas for discussion and for working on it and see what works and what doesn't work. It's a starting point. Importance of communication and outreach. We need to guide our young researchers to focus on building up communication skills. I'll share a couple of slides on it. Provide timely feedback to improve the research outcomes critical for sustained success. And encourage collaboration with other successful researchers, both nationally and internationally, which will require creating meaningful pathways at each HEIs, and encourage research funding, research finding application to benefit the society. Focus on results leading to return on investment. So applications of the research is very critical. Now, I want to share briefly about the importance of soft skills. If you look at all the hiring executives are clamoring for better soft skill, not only the hard skill. Last bullet talks about ability to work in a team for a new hire is more desirable than problem solving or analytical or quantitative skills. So what do we prepare? Students from the Indian universities, Indian colleges, they are good only in the hard or technical skills. They lack the soft skills like communication, leadership, decision-making, time management, teamwork, problem solving, project management, etc. And that is hurting them finding the good placement. And even if they find a placement, difficult to hold or make progress on the job. The mismatch. We need to have soft skills as a part of the curricula. Very important. Why communication is important. Slide shows that no matter what job we have in life, success 5% from academic credential, 15% from professional experiences, but 80% from the communication skills. And you have to fill in the blank leadership, other skills in the 80% bucket is leadership, decision making, time management, teamwork, problem solving, project management, etc. So if you want to build the capacity of our researchers, give them both hard skill and soft skills, leadership, decision making, time management, teamwork, and project management, encourage lifelong learning, learn from global best practices, adapt and adopt them in an Indian context. So I just want to share with you a live case we completed in 2022 at my alma mater with the help of Professor Anil Kumar Agrawal, professor in charge of training and placement. He has now retired and moved on. 6 sessions were conducted, and we were very fortunate to have a collaboration with the AICTE, ATAL Academy, Alma World, and State of Uttarakhand. All 6 sessions have been recorded, and happy to report that over 92,000 views are there on the AICTE website. And all 6 sessions shown here. If you go there, and I can take a minute to explain. So let me stop sharing, and then I'll come to share the website, training and placement cell of IIT BHU. Okay, it's not there. Let me see if it comes up now. Give me a second if you can. Yes, it is now there. So the entire program has been captured there with the focus, the benefits, the motivation, a little bit about my background, each of the topic, resources, my the PDF presentation, and the video recorded for 2-hour session with Q&A is all there. Each one of them. This is a wonderful research. It's free. You should tap into it and make sure that you are proficient in soft skills and your students are also proficient in the soft skills. Wonderful feedback, a lot of media coverage nationally, and lots of contacts, lots of photographs. And this was the team which put it together. 7 students, Professor Anil Kumar Agrawal and myself. So I'll stop sharing that and back to presentation. And now I have to start wrapping it up. Now the slides are with Dr. Sharif. So when you get it, do leverage all the resources I'm sharing. Talent recognition is very important. Assign experienced researcher to mentor young researcher. One experience taking care of 3 young ones. Provide incentives to mentors. Recognition and rewards to high-performing researchers is appropriate by developing a recognition process. Encourage young researchers to make presentation at national, international levels by creating budget and monitoring progress. Encourage research, teaching, publication, and patents, and celebrate breakthrough ideas with great impact to society. For example, COVID-19 vaccine development in India. So to wrap it up, my recommendations are for India's sustained progress in scientific advances, it's imperative to cultivate young scientists who are capable and proficient in research, teaching, publication, and patents. Create a meaningful repository of research opportunity within the SDGs at the national level. And I request all of you to consider following the model FSF RRI, create a sustainable research ecosystem in India, widely share this topic among Indian HEIs, CSIR, and all national labs, including private sector labs. And I want to thank the AICTE ATAL Academy for sponsoring SDGs FDP at NDIM, New Delhi. With that, back to basics. 2 key takeaways from the session, and please share at least one in the chat box. And once again, thanks for inviting me to share some ideas. And we are open for questions. We have about 9 minutes left.
So there is one question from Ratandeep Kaur, and she is a GRF scholar, and she want to ask that how can a researcher focusing on specific industries like healthcare and align their work with the relevant sustainable development goals, particularly SDG 12, responsible consumption and production. So what methodologies can ensure that such research contributes meaningfully to achieving this goal?
Yeah. So the items we discussed today, having capable researchers in the healthcare who know the fundamentals of doing the meaningful research related to SDGs, using variety of methods, whether it's experimental, quantitative, qualitative, whatever it takes. And they can do the literature review of what is being done in the subject area before they start their own work, and find the gaps and what needs to be addressed and do the meaningful research. So that will be my high level guidance. Okay, so Atul Rawatji has 2 items: collaborations to outcome and importance of communication in research. So thank you. Please put at least one key takeaway in the chat box, and any questions are most welcome at this point. Vipendra, incorporate SDGs research in academia, evolve methods to inculcate capabilities for SDGs research. Thank you. We have 143 people shown here. Please keep putting your input in there, and we can have still a dialogue on questions you may have. Devendra Sharma, what could be the strategy for initiating process for managing risk in the project? I think this we have answered. I'm seeing the old one. Sorry. Okay, so Devendra Sharma has a question. Can a nation achieve sustainable development without a strong educational foundation? Definitely no. How important are universal education, quality of opportunities, and education inclusion? Extremely important. So keep in mind that education is fundamental. Unless we are educated first, we can't become a researcher. And we are already weak in the research area in India. We are also weak in education level in India. Outcome is not the greatest. The product we create, the students, they're struggling to find the right job, progress in the job, because they are lacking the basic skills. You look at a lot of surveys which shows that only 7 to 8% of the engineers are capable of holding the core engineering job. Rest of them have no skill set because they are not given that skill set while they were in the colleges. So your points are extremely well taken, Devendra ji. Focus on education. Think about innovative way of teaching and learning. Don't just keep repeating what we have done for a long time. You cannot expect good results repeating the same thing from the past. Okay. Let's see, we are seeing some new item here. Thank you, Shilaji. Shiva Kumar, research model, thank you. Project management tools, we have to leverage all of that. So thank you very much. Okay, Dr. Vinita Devi, 2 questions. Communication and soft skill. Why are soft skill like communication is more important than technical skill for many jobs today? Okay, and the second one is what advice would you give to students struggling with confidence in communication or teamwork? So the communication is a lifeblood. We may be extremely brilliant. We may have many ideas, but if we can't communicate across other members on the team, those ideas will remain ideas. So that's why communication is important. Second one is when you want to get better at communication, you have to start practicing in a friendly setting. While in the schools, colleges, universities, form a small team of friends, do practice in presentation, get the critique and improve upon it. Also, do good amount of writing and keep improving your writing as they go, and teach these fundamental things to your students. Take away from Dr. Veerbhadra Rao, monument building in olden times using PM approach is appreciable. How is it documented? Today's age, PM is completely software centric. Good comment. The point is, it is documented with not just the software only, but in a real sense. It is already documented with the successful projects which are happening in all different domains. Okay, so few more takeaways before we close. Okay, so Sumitji, you have a question. How do we create meaningful research awareness in the era of AI, especially in social science and management? Yeah, so my request will be take a look at what we have discussed today in the session and see how do we apply that both in social science and management, because this is not a rocket science. It's all fundamental and back to basics. Key is, do we have the will to take it forward in our discipline in social science and management? If you resolve to do that, it will be definitely meaningful to get a good results. Okay, seeing no more input in there, back to Dr. Sharif to wrap it up. We have 1 minute left. Back to you, Dr. Sharif.
Any more questions, everyone? I think all of us have learned so much, Dr. Vora. It's been a pleasure having you, sir. Thank you for making time. And we look forward to your next session. And all of you, please take the benefit of learning from such an illustrious and experienced professional. Please reach out for your questions. We'll be taking one more session. And let us learn a lot from his rich experience. It's been a pleasure hosting you, sir, at NDIM platform. And thank you so much for making time. And may we request everyone to please have your cameras on for a picture with Dr. Vora.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Thank you, Dr. Sharif. Thank you, Atulji, for helping out. And appreciate the attentiveness and the interaction from all the participants. Look forward to have a great session tomorrow as well, same time, same place. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. Have a
A
good
great
evening,
evening.
sir. Have a good
Thank you so
evening,
much, sir.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.